A new law is raising global concern. Piers Morgan speaks with Dr. Mustafa Barghouti about a controversial move involving capital punishment for Palestinians. Before we dive in, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it.
Joining me now is the Palestinian political leader, Dr. Mustafa Barghouti. Welcome back to Uncensored. I just want to read what you published on X. You said the Israeli Knesset's approval of a law allowing the execution of Palestinian prisoners is a racist, fascist and dangerous escalation that directly threatens thousands of Palestinian detainees and further entrenches Israel's apartheid system and policy of collective punishment. And that comes along with Amnesty International, who said the law creates a dual legal system because Palestinians in the West Bank face the death penalty as a default in military courts. Well, Israeli settlers in the same territory are tried in civilian courts where the penalty is discretionary and harder to apply. So there is a two-tier legal system clearly being established here. What is your response to this?
Well, exactly. Two different systems of laws for two people living on the same land is apartheid. That's how you classify and identify apartheid. But it is a much worse apartheid than the one that prevailed in South Africa. Even in the worst time of South African apartheid system, nobody dared to say that if a black man kills a white man, he will be executed. But if a white man kills a black man, he will not be judged. That's exactly what this Israeli law says. It's first of all, it's illegal by international law because Israel has no jurisdiction over occupied territories, as international law says. Second, it is legalizing what is already going on of executing Palestinians. You know, since October 7th, in Israeli jails, in the West Bank and in Israel, 90 Palestinian detainees have already been killed, either by torture, either by starvation, or by deprivation of medical treatment. And more than that, to prove that it is a system of discrimination, there are two very interesting figures. 99% of Palestinian cases taken to Israeli courts are convicted, 99%, while 96% of any Israelis attacking Palestinians or conducting violence will never be convicted. As a matter of fact, out of 10,000 cases of Israeli terrorists, settlers, gangs attacking Palestinians, out of 10,000 cases, only 8 were convicted. So clearly, this is a system of discrimination. But more than that, I said that this law shows how far and how fast the Israeli establishment has gone in the direction of fascism. Imagine, not only they pass such a terrible law, which is considered a war crime by international community, but more than that, they are celebrating it, drinking drinks, celebrating the passage of the law and putting on their chests, men and women, Israeli members of the parliament, putting on their chest, whether they are men or women, symbols and pins of hanged man's knots, the rope that they will use to hang Palestinians.
It was disgusting.
Totally. And more than that, is that the Israel that some Western governments say it's the only democracy in the Middle East? Is this democracy?
Well, it's not. It's not democracy. I think when you have a two-tier legal system, that is not democracy. You know, I live in an actual democracy here in the UK, and everybody is treated the same way under the law. There is no two-tier law. If there was a law brought in specifically for one ethnic group that didn't apply to others, all hell would break loose. And yet this seems to have been widely accepted and applauded by most of the Israeli population, according to the polls I've seen.
And that's what worries me more than anything else. It's not just the Israeli government that has moved towards fascism. It's not just the Israeli governing establishment, including 2/3 of the Israeli members of the Knesset, the Israeli Jewish members of the Knesset, but it's the whole society. 90% of the society supports the war now. And the vast majority support such a terrible law. That is dangerous. If I was an Israeli, I would worry very much because this fascism will not only hurt Palestinians and kill Palestinians as they are doing, it will eat up the Israel from within. And that's why some people in Israel are protesting, because fascism is never good for anybody. And this fascism would not have grown so fast and so big if it wasn't for the world's abstention from establishing sanctions on Israel for committing genocide, for committing collective punishment and starvation against the people of Gaza, for allowing Israeli terrorist gangs to move around and attack every day 10 to 12 communities, burning houses, burning cars, shooting people. That's the result of the weakness of the international community and the absence of sanctions on Israel.
I'm going to be honest with you. This one stands out, even compared to everything else we've been covering. Since I started this channel, I've talked a lot about Israel and its actions, but this feels like a line being crossed in real time. And what's even more unsettling is how little resistance there seems to be on the global stage. Think about it. A law that applies one form of punishment to one group of people and explicitly shields another group from that same punishment for the same crimes. That's the part that's hard to ignore. That's the part that raises serious questions. How does something like that even pass in the first place? And when you start digging into the system behind it, it gets even more concerning. We're talking about extremely high conviction rates in military courts, cases built under intense pressure, and a process where appeals are either limited or non-existent. Then add the speed of sentencing into the mix, and suddenly this isn't just policy anymore. It's something much heavier. Now, international organizations have weighed in. The UN has raised alarms. Legal bodies have made strong statements. But here's the uncomfortable question no one seems to answer clearly. What actually happens next? Because statements are one thing, action is another. And right now, a lot of people are looking around and seeing very little change. And then there's the reaction internally, reports of celebration, of political figures backing this without hesitation. That's what really makes people pause, because it suggests this isn't just a decision at the top. It reflects something broader. Zoom out for a second, and you start to see a bigger pattern forming. Ongoing tensions across multiple regions, escalating rhetoric, and now this, a move that many see as a step backward at a time when the world is supposed to be pushing forward. This is why people are calling it a turning point. Not just because of what the law says, but because of what it represents. Let me know what you think about all of this, because right now, a lot of people are trying to make sense of where things are heading, and what, if anything, can actually be done about it. Thanks for watching.